In WWE history, two eras stand out as both the foundation and the peak of professional wrestling. The Golden Era, where the first sparks of legendary names were lit, and the Attitude Era, a time of explosive rebellion, intensity, and unforgettable golden moments. Very few stars had the endurance, talent, and personality to thrive in both periods, not only witnessing history but also shaping it. These icons left their mark not just through their in-ring abilities, but through their extraordinary adaptability to the unforgiving passage of time. So, who were they? Let's find out right now. Wrestling Sphere, go! 1. Big Boss Man. Among the names who walked through both the Golden Era and the Attitude Era, Big Boss Man stands as a prime example of reinvention to fit each period. Ray Traylor first appeared in WWE during the late 1980s, portraying a stern yet honorable prison guard, dressed in his signature blue uniform. At that time, fans saw him as a trustworthy figure who stood for justice, often teaming with major stars and even pairing up, before clashing, with the legendary Hulk Hogan. This image quickly won him admiration during the final years of the Golden Era. However, when the Attitude Era emerged with its bold, chaotic, and edgier style, Big Boss Man returned to WWE in 1998 with a completely different persona. This time, he wore a black SWAT outfit, carrying himself with a cold, ruthless, and intimidating presence, becoming the embodiment of a violent cop. No longer the friendly enforcer of justice, he transformed into someone who delivered punishment his own way, often crossing moral and legal lines, which made him one of the most memorable villains of that era. With this darker character, Big Boss Man found himself in the ring with many of the top names of the Attitude Era. While his clashes with The Rock and Steve Austin weren't lengthy, they helped keep him in the spotlight. Still, his most unforgettable rivalries came against Big Show and Al Snow, producing moments that were as controversial as they were unforgettable. Who could forget the shocking scene of Boss Man cooking Al Snow's beloved pet dog and forcing him to eat it, or the outrageous moment when he drove off with Big Show's father's casket during a funeral? These storylines captured the bizarre and often cruel spirit of the Attitude Era, with Boss Man fully embracing that tone. Because of this reinvention, many fans argue that his late 90s run marked the true peak of his career. From the straight-laced corrections officer of the Golden Era to the brutal lawman of the Attitude Era, Big Boss Man evolved perfectly to match the unforgiving atmosphere of WWE's most chaotic time. That's why his name endures as a unique figure who made a lasting impact across two defining eras of wrestling history. 2. Bret, the Hitman Hart. When it comes to names that left a lasting mark in both the Golden Era and the Attitude Era, Bret, the Hitman Hart is always at the top of the list. He began his WWF career as one half of the Hart Foundation, quickly proving his natural talent in tag team wrestling. Teaming with Jim, the Anvil Neidhart, the duo brought perfect balance. Neidhart embodied raw power, while Bret showcased technical precision and tactical intelligence. Together, they turned the Hart Foundation into one of the most iconic tag teams of the Golden Era, capturing multiple championships and delivering classics against rivals like the British Bulldogs and Demolition. But Bret wasn't destined to remain just a tag team specialist. As the early 1990s unfolded, he stepped out on his own to establish himself as a single star. With a style built on flawless technique, calculated execution, and the moniker, the excellence of execution, Bret became the face of a WWF in transition. No longer relying solely on muscle-bound superstars like Hulk Hogan, the company embraced Hart as the new standard, an athlete who, though not massive in size, could captivate audiences by telling a compelling story inside the ring from start to finish. His peak extended throughout the early and mid-90s, during which he held the WWE Championship multiple times and stood at the forefront of the new generation era. Yet the biggest turning point came as the company shifted into the Attitude Era. Amid that chaos, Bret remained a central figure, both as a champion and as the leader of the revamped Hart Foundation, clashing with rising icons like Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then came one of wrestling's most controversial moments, the infamous Montreal Screwjob at Survivor Series 1997. Watching Bret lose in such an unjust fashion to Shawn Michaels became a defining moment not only for his career, but also for WWE's future, as it gave birth to the villainous Mr. McMahon persona that would dominate the Attitude Era. Though he departed WWE soon after, Bret Hart's legacy endures. He is remembered not just as a master of technical wrestling, but as the bridge between two defining eras, carrying the torch from the brilliance of the Golden Era into the turbulent rise of the Attitude Era. In the hearts of fans, Bret, the Hitman Hart, will forever remain one of the most respected champions in wrestling history. 3. The Undertaker. Among the legends who competed across WWE's two most celebrated eras, none surpassed the presence and legacy of The Undertaker. Mark Calloway first appeared at Survivor Series in 1990, during the final stretch of the Golden Era, instantly chilling audiences with his dead man persona, an eerie gravedigger with lifeless eyes, a haunting slow walk, and an aura of death that seemed to hang over the ring. Few could have predicted that this character would not only endure, but also become one of the most iconic figures in wrestling history. When the Attitude Era erupted, defined by chaos, bold storytelling, and a darker edge, Undertaker showcased an extraordinary ability to adapt. Rather than staying locked in his original image, he evolved into the Lord of Darkness, complete with sinister rituals and cult-like theatrics that perfectly fit the Crash TV-style Vince Russo and Vince McMahon used to keep fans glued to their screens. This transformation was more than just spectacle. It solidified Undertaker as an irreplaceable cornerstone during WWE's fierce battle with WCW. But he didn't stop there. As faster-paced, technical wrestling began dominating the scene, Undertaker reinvented himself yet again, this time as the American Badass, a rugged biker who roared to the ring on a motorcycle, ready to throw down with anyone. This version demanded he overhaul his in-ring style, becoming more agile and versatile, capable of competing with technical masters like Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and Eddie Guerrero. It proved his ability to evolve, shifting from a slow, supernatural figure into a dynamic competitor who matched the modern standard of wrestling. What made the American Badass persona even more fascinating was how it reflected elements of Mark Calloway himself, tough, straightforward, and unapologetically real, stripped of the mystical shroud. Yet for fans, the Deadman identity remained the most beloved incarnation. As expected, at WrestleMania 20 in 2004, Undertaker returned to that classic form, greeted with thunderous celebration from millions worldwide. That comeback closed the chapter of his bold Attitude Era transformation, while affirming that Undertaker wasn't just a symbol of one era but a towering presence spanning multiple generations. His unmatched ability to adapt, reinvent, and maintain relevance for decades made him a one-of-a-kind figure in WWE history. 4. Terry Funk. If there is one name that perfectly embodies success across both the Golden Era and the Attitude Era, it's Terry Funk. From the 1980s, when he first entered WWF, Funk stood out thanks to his exceptional skill set and fearless in-ring style. He battled stars like Junkyard Dog and even Hulk Hogan, proving he had the toughness to stand toe-to-toe with the biggest names of that generation. Although his first stint didn't bring major championships, his dedication and unique approach already cemented him as a true legend. What truly elevated Terry Funk came with his return to WWF in 1997. By this point, he was no longer just a technical master and former NWA World Champion. He had reinvented himself as a pioneer of hardcore wrestling. Embracing brutal, blood-soaked matches, Funk adapted to the demands of a new era. This transformation not only allowed him to remain relevant, but also made him an essential part of the Attitude Era's chaos and unpredictability. The turning point came when Funk took on the persona of Chainsaw Charlie and teamed up with longtime friend and rival Mick Foley. Together, they sparked one of the wildest rivalries against the New Age Outlaws. From being stuffed into a dumpster and pushed off the stage to enduring merciless brawls, Funk's willingness to endure punishment shocked fans everywhere. Yet all that risk was rewarded when, at WrestleMania 14, Funk and Foley overcame the Outlaws to capture the Tag Team Championship. It was a milestone moment, proving that his second run was even more impactful than his early years. Still, for Terry Funk, championships were never the ultimate measure of greatness. He often said that what mattered most wasn't the belts, but the unforgettable moments, the way he could elevate opponents and deliver matches that fans would never forget. That philosophy is what made him more than a champion of an era. It made him an enduring icon of professional wrestling history itself. 5. Owen Hart. Owen Hart was one of the rare names who left his mark across both of WWE's shining eras, from the end of the Golden Era to the height of the Attitude Era. Coming from the legendary Hart family in Canada, he began his career in the late 1980s and quickly stood out, not only as Bret Hart's younger brother but as a remarkable talent in his own right. When he entered WWE in the early 1990s, Owen proved himself to be a master technician, with impeccable control of match pace, outstanding technical skill, and incredible resilience. These qualities helped him shine even at a time when WWE was dominated by massive, muscle-bound stars. The defining aspect of Owen's early run was his determination to step out of Bret Hart's shadow and establish his own identity. His heated feuds with Bret produced unforgettable moments, blending emotional storytelling with top-tier in-ring work. Through these clashes, Owen showed that he wasn't just Bret's sibling. He was an elite performer in his own right, worthy of recognition during the transitional phase between eras. As WWE shifted into the Attitude Era, Owen's style became even more versatile. He took part in bold and creative storylines, most notably his stint with the Nation of Domination, one of the most influential heel factions of that time. In this role, Owen wasn't just a villain. He adapted to the edgy, aggressive narrative style that defined the era. Beyond that, his high-caliber matches against Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock further elevated his reputation and showcased his ability to thrive against the biggest stars of the business. Owen Hart was admired not only for his technical brilliance but also for his intelligence inside the ring. He knew how to tell a story through wrestling, pulling the audience into every move and every shift in momentum. Though his career was tragically cut short, the legacy he left behind remains as powerful as ever. Owen proved that true talent and dedication could transcend eras, securing his place as one of the greatest stars to emerge from both the Hart family and WWE itself. 6. Shawn Michaels. Whether in the Golden Era or the Attitude Era, Shawn Michaels always pursued a single goal: to make every audience remember him with performances that exceeded expectations. He didn't need to be the biggest or the strongest, but every time he stepped into the ring, Shawn almost guaranteed the match would become unforgettable. In the late 1980s, during his time in tag team competition, Shawn already displayed qualities that set him apart. His agility, precise technique, and natural star presence gradually lifted him out of the shadow of being just a tag team wrestler and positioned him as a rising singles competitor. By the early 1990s, armed with the Heartbreak Kid persona and unmatched confidence, Michaels became the center of attention. Fans were drawn to his blend of smooth technical wrestling, entertaining showmanship, and unmistakable charisma. Of course, his journey wasn't always smooth. During the early Attitude Era, Shawn's career was clouded by a wild lifestyle, personal struggles, and numerous backstage conflicts. His close circle of friends, known as the Clique, stirred plenty of tension behind the scenes. Yet, despite the controversies, Michaels' talent was undeniable. Rivals, allies, and even management had to admit that he possessed a rare ability to deliver show-stealing matches that few could replicate. It's worth noting that his rebellious nature had been evident since the Golden Era. Shawn was often seen as a party-loving rule-breaker with little regard for authority. But if that had been all he was, he likely would have faded away in the land of giants that was 1980s WWF. What truly kept him alive, and later propelled him to the top, was his extraordinary skill inside the ring. Looking back, without his natural talent, Shawn Michaels might never have survived long enough to reach the Attitude Era. Yet history proved the opposite. The Heartbreak Kid not only endured but thrived, leaving a brilliant legacy across both eras. He stands as living proof that true ability can overcome any obstacle. 7. Papa Shango. Among the performers who left their mark in both the Golden Era and the Attitude Era, Charles Wright stands out for his remarkable transformations. In the early 1990s, he debuted as Papa Shango, a mysterious voodoo witch doctor. With eerie rituals, bizarre theatrics, and spells that left opponents in strange trances, Papa Shango quickly drew attention. While he never reached the very top, the character still stood out as one of the most unusual personas in WWE during that time. However, the dark sorcerer gimmick had limited appeal, working more to frighten children than to create lasting impact. By the late 1990s, as WWE entered the Wild Attitude Era, Wright knew he needed a complete reinvention to survive. That reinvention came in the form of the Godfather, a character that was the total opposite of Papa Shango, yet instantly exploded in popularity and became one of the most beloved acts of the era. As the Godfather, Wright entered the arena accompanied by his group of glamorous ladies, dressed provocatively and bringing an electric energy to Monday nights. The character's carefree, entertaining nature resonated perfectly with the younger demographic that fueled WWE's success at the time. Even Wright himself admitted he enjoyed portraying the Godfather far more than his earlier personas, as it reflected parts of his real life. Before wrestling, Wright had managed a strip club in Las Vegas, making the role feel natural and authentic, something that helped cement the Godfather as a fan favorite. While Papa Shango was remembered mainly for curiosity and shock value, The Godfather gave Wright lasting success. The persona not only brought him championships but also secured his place in WWE history as a defining figure of the Attitude Era. That success was ultimately recognized in 2016, when Charles Wright was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as the Godfather, a testament to his brilliant transition from the dark mystique of the Golden Era to the unapologetic flamboyance of the Attitude Era. 8. Dustin Rhodes. Across a career that stretched over decades, Dustin Rhodes stands as a prime example of a wrestler who overcame personal struggles to prove his worth inside the ring. There was a time when addiction threatened to end everything, but Dustin managed to pull himself back and reinvented his career in WWF with a persona no fan could ever forget, Goldust. When it comes to bold, controversial, and boundary-breaking characters during the transition between the Golden Era and the Attitude Era, Goldust is impossible to overlook. With his flamboyant appearance, unsettling aura, and behavior drenched in gender-bending undertones, Dustin offered fans something they had never seen before. In fact, many believe that Goldust's debut in 1995 helped lay the groundwork for the Attitude Era itself. His character pushed well beyond what was considered acceptable in WWF at the time, and even today, elements of Goldust's act can still leave certain audiences uncomfortable or bewildered. However, Dustin's journey in WWF didn't begin there. As early as 1990 to 1991, he had already appeared in the company under his real name, teaming alongside his legendary father, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Though this run wasn't long-lasting, he did participate in a memorable match at the 1991 Royal Rumble, where father and son faced Ted DiBiase and Virgil. While not a career-defining moment, that period taught Dustin what it took to survive in the harsh environment of Vince McMahon's WWF. Armed with that early experience, his mid-90s return marked a turning point. By combining theatrical performance, creative risk-taking, and steady in-ring ability, Dustin gradually earned Vince McMahon's trust and secured bigger opportunities. Through persistence and innovation, Goldust grew into an iconic figure, so distinctive that he sustained a career well into 2019. And had he remained in WWE beyond that point, the character would surely have continued, because Goldust became one of the most unique personas the company had ever created. 9. Davey Boy Smith. In WWE history, Davey Boy Smith, better known as the British Bulldog, stands as proof of the perfect blend of raw power and technical ability. His early run in WWF was tied to Dynamite Kid as part of the British Bulldogs, a tag team that helped redefine what tag team wrestling could be. Balancing speed with strength, the duo delivered innovative performances that elevated the division to a new level. Their success was cemented when they captured the Tag Team Championship, establishing the British Bulldogs as one of the premier acts of their time. When Dynamite Kid departed, Davey Boy embarked on his singles career and reached his peak upon returning to WWF in the early 1990s. His most historic moment came at SummerSlam 1992, in front of a sold-out Wembley Stadium. That night, before tens of thousands of fans in his home country, Davey Boy defeated his brother-in-law Bret, the Hitman Hart, to win the Intercontinental Championship. The match is remembered not only for its outstanding quality but also for cementing the British Bulldog as a true international star. However, his run during the Attitude Era was far less glorious. Like many wrestlers of that time, Davey Boy struggled with personal issues, including substance abuse, which greatly affected his performance. While he still appeared in high-profile matches against top names like The Rock and Triple H, his impact during this era was muted. These bouts failed to recapture the magic of his earlier years, when he had been regarded as one of the most complete wrestlers in the world. The most talked-about moment of his late 90s return wasn't a major victory but an infamous scene on SmackDown in 1999, where The Rock delivered a rock bottom to him directly into a pile of dog feces. The shocking image became a symbol of the decline in what was once a celebrated career. Yet, the true legacy of the British Bulldog isn't defined by that period. Fans remember him as a powerful competitor capable of putting on classics with anyone throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. Though he was not always given the recognition he deserved, Davey Boy Smith remains one of WWE's most underrated yet exceptional talents, an athlete whose contributions left an indelible mark on wrestling history. 10. Earthquake. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, the name Earthquake struck genuine fear into WWF audiences. John Tenta, the man behind the character, successfully embodied the image of an unstoppable giant, built on a strong sumo background and overwhelming power. Time and again, He left crowds in awe as he entered the ring with his massive frame and suffocating style that crushed opponents. His clashes with Hulk Hogan, along with memorable runs in tag team matches, cemented Earthquake as one of the most unforgettable monsters of the Golden Era. However, when Tenta returned to WWF in 1998, he was no longer given the chance to revive that fearsome persona. Instead, he donned a mask and became Golga, an eccentric member of the Oddities. With his bizarre appearance, always carrying a plush Eric Cartman doll and participating in segments that leaned more toward comedy than competition, Golga came across as a dancing giant, rather than the terrifying force Earthquake once was. Most unfortunate of all, his history as a former tag team champion was completely overlooked in this role. To anyone unaware, it would have been nearly impossible to recognize the man behind the mask as the once dominant Earthquake. The reason was simple. WWE believed that the Earthquake character no longer fit the late 90s atmosphere, when the Attitude Era thrived on edginess, rebellion, and bold personalities. Adding to that, Tenta had lost significant weight during his time away, which altered the imposing look fans remembered. Vince McMahon feared that reviving Earthquake wouldn't carry the same impact as before, leaving Tenta to reinvent himself under a new identity. Even so, this period wasn't entirely bleak. As Golga, Tenta at least maintained steady income and regular television exposure. Notably, at WrestleMania 17, he briefly returned as Earthquake in the gimmick Battle Royal, giving fans a nostalgic glimpse of the character that once defined his career. Yet, in the hearts of wrestling fans, John Tenta will always be remembered most for his early run, the time when he truly embodied an unstoppable monster, one powerful enough to push even Hulk Hogan to his limits. Those years remain the greatest legacy Earthquake left behind in WWE history. 11. The Mountie. Before donning the uniform of the Mountie, Jacques Rougeau was already a familiar name in WWF, especially as part of the fabulous Rougeaus alongside his brother, who became long-standing rivals of the British Bulldogs. Their matches were not only dramatic but also added depth to the tag team division during the Golden Era. However, when his tag team run ended in 1990, Jacques needed a new direction to remain relevant. That was when the Mountie was born, a cunning, ruthless heel who often used a cattle prod to take down opponents, from Big Boss Man to Bret "Hitman" Hart. As Hulkamania gave way to the new generation, Jacques cleverly reinvented himself. Through the Mountie persona, he became a satirical northern counterpart to Ray Traylor, embodying a uniquely Canadian villain. The character was so controversial that in Canada, Rougeau was legally prohibited from portraying the Mountie because the law did not allow police forces to be depicted as villains. Yet in the US, the character became unforgettable, especially when Rougeau shocked fans by defeating Bret Hart in January 1992 to capture the Intercontinental Championship. Though his reign was brief, ending with a loss to Roddy Piper, it marked the peak of Jacques' singles career. Afterward, he gradually shifted back to tag team wrestling, reuniting with Pierre Ouellet to form the Quebecers. Together, they maintained solid popularity, delivered memorable matches, and carved out a place for themselves in an increasingly competitive WWF landscape. When the Attitude Era exploded, Jacques returned to WWF after some time away. Once again, he and Pierre revived the Quebecers' name, though their run was short-lived given the crowded roster and the company's focus on a new generation of stars. Still, they left a meaningful mark by competing in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 14, a pivotal event of that era. That appearance ultimately became the Quebecers and Jacques Rougeau's final chapter in WWF. After that brief stint, he gradually stepped away from the spotlight, moving toward semi-retirement. Looking back, however, the Mountie persona and Jacques' contributions in both tag team and singles competition remain an important bridge between the Golden Era and the Attitude Era. The legends who appeared in both the Golden Era and the Attitude Era proved their timeless value. If you found this video engaging, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any exciting content from Wrestling Sphere.